Hi, Mr. Frump. How are you?
Siddharth, good. Good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise, sir. So, sir, today is the World Environment Day, and we all know Volvo is on the forefront of safety and sustainability. So, now let me start this conversation with asking you one question. As a head of a company, sustainability, where does it stand in your list of priorities?
Well, I think it's for Volvo. Sustainability has always been at the top of the list, right along with safety. I think we're known as a company to lead the world in safety, and I think more and more we've been understanding that safety in a broader context and really protecting the environment and protecting people is certainly part of that. So sustainability for Volvo is really part of our DNA.
Great, sir, great.
One second, Mr. Siddharth, I'll be leaving this session, and it was a great session. I hope you all will continue watching this. Like I said, you can actually go onto Facebook, Twitter, and on the website of BW and watch us live right there. Thank you so much. This is Aditi Nagori signing off for the day. I'm looking forward to get to know more about this, and I'm surely going to watch the video. So you all, please stay tuned. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Aditi.
Thanks, Aditi.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Mr. Frump. So, do you think the COVID crisis that the whole world is going through has impacted sustainability initiatives, or sustainability has taken a back seat during this crisis?
I think that there's, if you look, there's some headwinds and some tailwinds with this, right? I mean, certainly you look at some of the headwinds, in a crisis like that, you see oil prices are down dramatically, and certainly that maybe makes the choice of especially full electrified vehicles a little less financially advantageous, and I think that's certainly a bit of a headwind. But I think that people, Volvo and companies in general, I think are clearly recognizing that electrification is the way of the future. And I think there was some concern that some automakers may deprioritize some investments in electrified cars. That's certainly not the case at Volvo. I mean, we are fully in and have not decreased our investments in electrification. I think that there are some good tailwinds. I think especially in some of the countries that suffer from rather serious pollution. I mean, I look out my window here in Delhi, and I saw a double rainbow last week. I've seen blue skies, and certainly this is something that I think that people get a vision of what a world where we don't battle with air pollution looks like, and we've seen that. And I think all of us that have seen that, we want more of that, especially those that are most affected in the polluted cities around India.
Mr. Frump, you mentioned electric vehicles and Volvo XC40 Recharge that's
Yes.
coming to India, right?
Yes.
And Volvo has also been on the forefront of plug-in hybrids. It's been really working on hybrids. Most of the vehicles, Volvo's, come as hybrids. So what's your take on electric vehicles and the future of electric vehicles post-COVID?
Sure. I think we have been very interested in bringing the very best electrified vehicles to India. We were the first automaker to bring a plug-in hybrid to India in our XC90 T8, and that's a car that at the top of our lineup that is we're extremely proud of. I think the ultimate full electric vehicle for us is coming in the XC40 Recharge, and I see that car being a huge step for us. I think that there's been when you look at, say, government regulations and such, there hasn't been a lot of support for hybrids. I personally think that's that is a mistake. I would like to have seen a journey where Volvo goes from diesel to petrol to a plug-in hybrid and finally to full electric. I think especially with some concerns that customers have around you know, charging infrastructure and stuff, that would have been a nice path. But I think there's very little government reward for plug-in hybrids, despite the very high cost of that technology. So we've really only found a place for that at the very highest end of our lineup. But when we see full electric vehicles coming, you know, we see a very advantageous policy from the government. It's something that when I called Sweden to make the business case, it made the business case very, very strong, and you know, really is bringing that, you know, the possibility and near certainty of bringing the XC40 Recharge, our full electric car, to India sometime next year. And so you know, I guess I would say that, you know, I really appreciate the way that the government has created a tailwind for full electric vehicles, and I just think they need to keep that policy in place over the number of years, and I really think it's going to happen, and I think we're going to be one of the leaders in that space.
Hello, Mr. Frump. How are you?
Is this Abhishek?
Yes, you guessed that right. It's Abhishek.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
So it's actually a very small world.
Mr. Frump, now that we are talking about electric vehicles and the Recharge, could you tell us about that carbon neutral to 2025 vision for Volvo?
Yeah, I think that this is, you know, we have a number of you know, one of the things I really appreciate about, you know, a Swedish style of leadership is that it's very.
What excites me is pioneering.
Oh, one moment. Chetan, please mute.
There we go. I really appreciate about a Swedish style of leadership is it's very vision based, right? So when we look at what we want to achieve as a company, we lay out a vision for a future that we would like to see. And you know, there's been you know, with you know, in environmental consciousness in mind, we as a company have laid out a number of visions. One is to be carbon neutral by 2025. Another is to have 50% of our cars be fully electric vehicles by 2025. And these are, you know, this is the way then that we envision this kind of future. And I think it's a very, I think, Swedish style of leadership where we bring, you know, everyone understands these visions, and then each incremental decision is aligned to making that happen. So, you know, I think if you look more than 20 years ago, we said we would like to have 0 people killed or injured in a new Volvo. And that has been really the core of our safety vision. And then when you have a vision like, be it zero carbon neutral or 50% of your cars being electric, it really crystallizes the goal and gives us, you know, all of us at Volvo something to work for that we're all very much inspired by and very proud of.
Sir, electric vehicles is one thing for sustainability, but what are your views on the source of that electricity for the electric vehicles? If that source is coming from a coal sourced electric plant, doesn't really make sense where you're polluting at the source but not at the end, you know?
Yeah, I think there's been, you know, some studies here that you know, there's still, even if you're using, you know, some forms of less clean energy production, there's still benefits of an electric vehicle. But certainly, I think this goes hand in hand, having primary, you know, the way we see primarily solar driven charging stations that I see as a key enabler to having a truly kind of green experience. And that's something that looking forward, this is really part of our plans.
Great. So now products are one thing and the source of electricity is one thing. Now, so the whole supply chain, automotive OEM could be sustainable, could be taking measures and steps in sustainability.
Yes.
But what about implementing those sustainable measures throughout the whole value chain down to the last component manufacturer? That
Yes.
could make the whole system green and sustainable.
It really is, and I think this is an important step that I think we're still on a journey there. I mean, we have for many years looked at the amount of our vehicles that are recycled, you know, the percentage of our vehicles that are recyclable. I think there's a lot of focus. So currently now, as we head into our vision of having so many electric vehicles, is managing the batteries after the life of the car, right? So making sure that there's an environmentally friendly way of dealing with batteries and things. And so this is, I think, a natural knock-on effect of this focus, right? And I think we still, we're all thinking about this, but I think we still have a bit of a ways to go in laying out such a clear future as we have for the powertrains.
Okay, so now we're done with products. Now let's talk about what is Volvo India. How is it contributing to the sustainability, and how important is sustainability for Volvo Cars India?
I mean, it's incredible. Hold on, I have a little bit of a disturbance here. My hold on one sec. I'll quiet it down. Hold on. There we go. Resolved itself. Good. So I think Volvo Car India has focused a lot on sustainability and trying to bring products that are, from a product perspective, that's the most obvious way. Bringing the first plug-in hybrid to India, being one of the first automakers to reach BS6 norms and have all of our cars completely ready for BS6. And now we're transitioning from diesel to petrol. So little by little, we're taking these steps. Certainly, the big swing will be when we move to full electric vehicles and the launch of the XC40 battery electric vehicle. But I think one of the things we've also been doing is really raising awareness of the problems specifically that Indians face. Right? We've done a number of things to raise that awareness. We've launched what we call our Breathe Free campaign, and this is primarily around CSR, where we have gone out to schools and talked about the harmful effects of air pollution. We've worked with children to make do-it-yourself air purifiers for their homes. This past kind of, we worked in the NCR making school buses that had clean air on the inside. They also had devices attached that removed a lot of the PM 2.5 particles, and so essentially it went around the city cleaning the air as a project. So this is our way of raising that awareness, because I think perhaps many of us don't really realize the health impacts that the air quality has, and I think that's part of our role to really bring that awareness, and we've been spending a lot of time on that.
I remember coming to the Swedish embassy last year, where Volvo had an event where there was a fan and there was a DIY filter which was built for clearing the air, etc. So
I think just with that event, that was, of course, very nice of the ambassador of Sweden. Sweden has a long history of care for the environment, and I think it's a good signal that the ambassador would like us to hold an event like that there. You know, I think the idea, you know, germinated a bit because we have, for our own customers, they can enjoy the very best purified air available. Like our air purification, our internal air quality system reduces PM 2.5 levels by 99%. You may have seen at that event, inside the car within 20 seconds, it went from about 150 AQI down to 2 or 3. So the speed of that, and that of course is great for Volvo customers, but we really, you know, we understand that luxury cars are out of reach for many. And so these, you know, to more democratize clean air was the goal of really this campaign.
Now, Mr. Frump, fuel, source of fuel is one thing, electric, diesel, petrol.
Yep.
But manufacturing a car, there are a lot of components that go in that can be actually made in a sustainable green manner, like probably the dashboard plastics, the carpets, a lot of things that go into the car. I
Yes.
had read somewhere that Polestar, which is Volvo's premium electric division, they
Yes.
had come up with certain recyclable plastics which were going on dashboard, some cushions which were made out of cork, and etc. So what all steps can an OEM, a manufacturer, might not be luxury manufacturer, could be
Yep.
a budget manufacturer also, should be able to take that step towards sustainability?
Yeah, I think certainly, you know, looking at the, you know, the recyclability and sustainability of the materials we use. One of the big steps that actually we announced today is we, as part of the World Environment Day, was that our Chengdu, one of our latest plants has been built in Chengdu, China, and it, from starting today, is now 100% using renewable energy. Right, so you can understand in the manufacturing process, a lot of energy is used there, and often, you know, fossil fuels are used to drive the production of that. And one of the things we're very proud to be able to announce today is our first factory that is using 100% renewable energy. And I think that kind of thing hopefully sets an example for others to follow, and I think is a great initiative. And we're looking at even more plants that can do that.
Great, sir, great. That's a great thing. So do you think electric mobility is the only way forward for green revolution, or we could also look at alternative fuels?
Yeah, I think that there's, you know, there's the biofuel discussions and hydrogen and these fuel cells and stuff. And these are certainly options that could be explored and are being explored. But what I can say for Volvo is we as a company are 100% behind electrification. We're looking at a future that is electrified. We believe this is the technology of the future, and our entire product lineup is heading towards electrification. And now, you know, with this vision of 50% of our cars being full electric, you know, that's going to affect every single market that we have in the world. And, you know, I think with the size of the issue we have in India with pure air, the magnitude of government support, I think that this is clearly, I think that we by 2025 are headed in India beyond that 50% mark. I think we'll be far ahead of that.
So, like the COVID virus, the corona outbreak. Now, climate change also requires a cross-border, cross-sector effort.
Yes.
So what are your views on this? Just one manufacturer doing its bit, does it really help the cause? Or the whole policy makers, the local societies, the whole supply chain, the whole ecosystem has to come together and work and fight towards climate change? What's your view?
It does. And I think this gets back to our Swedish vision of leadership, right? And what is one small, Swedish luxury car company going to do to change the world? Perhaps, our efforts in the grand scheme of things are not so huge. But perhaps then we can play the role of inspiring others to be leaders in this area. And this is very much the role that I would like to see us here in India. I think that, the technology for electric cars is expensive. I think that there is a role for luxury makers to lead in that expensive technology. I do think that there's a lot of customers out there that and especially among luxury customers that want to show that they are doing something about this issue. And that's something that I really want to be able to enable for those customers to be trendsetters, to be really the guiding star for this. And if that's something that we can accomplish, that would be a real win in my mind.
One question. The whole auto sector has been suffering for the past 1.5 years, 2 years with
Yes.
low sales. And then we get the coronavirus and the whole manufacturing is shut. The companies are running out of funds. There are salaries to be paid. There are labor issues. And this is globally. So do you
Yes.
think now post-COVID, or once the situation is settling down, do you think manufacturers will actually take that extra step towards sustainability, which will cost them more money? And as a customer, would I be able to spend more to actually buy a vehicle which is sort of green? I mean, which is
Sure.
electric or wherever.
I guess, our customer's going to spend more to be green. I'm betting on that, right? And I'm betting by bringing vehicles here. I'm betting by bringing our best technology here. I'm betting that there are people that want to lead the way, right? And I think that this crisis has shown us the value of clean air, and I think people may be inspired to want to play their part. And I believe it enough to be setting our whole product plan in place to ensure that we can fulfill that need. So I definitely think that that's there. I think the luxury business is maybe a little less price sensitive, right? And that I think I can imagine a customer that maybe has the money but doesn't want to stand out by buying a luxury car. That same customer may want to stand out by making an environmental statement, and that I think could is really something that I do see happening. Whether it's whether COVID or not, I still see that happening.
So making a statement is one thing, but like I recently, a couple of days back, I read a report where some country in Europe has actually provided a lot of incentives for electric vehicles.
Yes.
So that sort of movement currently, right now, when people are short on cash, companies are running short on labor.
Yes.
There's a lot of trouble. So right now, if I want to buy a car, I would buy probably a cheap car. But if I get some incentives from the government to buy electric, I would definitely look at that. So what are your thoughts on this?
And those incentives are there, right? I guess one of the things that I think people don't yet realize is that the incentives for automakers for electric vehicles. I think the concern is this technology is extremely expensive, right? And I get that, but especially when you look at the luxury makers, all of which have have invested in extremely high-end technology to enable what you need in a car to have sufficient range, to have the reliability, the safety. That this has all been, they've invested in this. And I think one of the things that I see in the regulations now you look to step back a bit. 1% of cars in India are luxury cars, right? And a lot of that is driven because there's a big gap between the tax rate for luxury cars and the tax rate for non-luxury cars. And when you shift to electric, now that gap becomes much lower. So actually, when under this new tax regime, the cost of owning a luxury BEV car, a battery electric car, will be, the technology costs, a lot of that will come out because of the taxation system. So if I look forward, I see as a result of electrification, I see a lot more luxury cars being bought, and I think that technology becomes more affordable because of the lower tax rate and the lower differentiation. So I think that I'm looking at this at Volvo and thinking, this is a game changer, not only because I think we build the best electric cars in the world, but because I think that the total pie of luxury will increase as a result of that, because of the tax variation.
Great, sir. So, Abhishek? Okay, so now one question. As the MD of Volvo Cars India, what do you have to say to your fellow colleagues in the automotive sector on this day?
I would say to all of us, right? We're part of the problem here, right? When you talk about the environment, people naturally look at cars as being part of the problem. Now, are we the main driver of all in the world? Probably not, but certainly we have to own up to our responsibility. So I would say to others in the world, and I see this in this industry now. I think it's not just Volvo; it is this industry. We want to be part of the solution. We want to have a better, cleaner world, and I just challenge all of us to do in this industry to do our best to bring that future to reality, regardless of some of the bumps that we face. Be it COVID, be it other things, that this is something that is the right thing to do, and we have to prioritize it. And I can tell you from Volvo, we will be.
Mr. Frump, can I ask a question?
Yes. Abhishek, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to mute myself because there's so much noise at my place. So I didn't
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay. Mr. Frump, can you hear me?
I can, clearly.
Okay. So there is like a lot of talk about social distancing. You're already aware, and also
very aware of that. Yes, I'm practicing a lot of social distancing these days.
Okay. So talking about Volvo, and not only talking about Volvo India, Volvo per se, because you have multiple production facilities. Do we see two interesting trends catching up? One is cloud computing, and also automation. And AI, of course, AI, is actually catching up despite COVID. So, do you see these three issues getting these trends getting accelerated because of COVID? If you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, I guess there's going to be so many lessons learned and things that we've learned from this. Do I see a world where, as a result of COVID, we're going to build all of our cars with machines rather than with people? I don't see that world, right? I think that these are highly handcrafted machines that we need to deliver with the very best quality, and human often requires a human touch. I think automation is good. I think that it will continue, of course, but I don't see a world where that cars are built by automation any faster than anything else is, right? I think that the rise of digital printing and these kinds of things I think will come, but I don't see that being accelerated by COVID, right?
What
So
about cloud computing and AI?
I think cloud computing is beyond the scope of my comment, I would say. AI, I see at the moment, the best use of that has been for us is reaching out to customers and interacting with customers in a more thoughtful way, in a faster way, in a more educated way. These are things I think that AI immediately are enabling. When it comes to, and this is more my area of expertise, when it comes to media choices, when it comes to working with digitally and advertising digitally to make sure people understand the product that you have and the product you have to offer, and doing it in a way that doesn't bother them, right, when they're ready to receive that information. One of the things that I can appreciate about AI is that I don't want to be the company that is bothering people with advertising. I want to be there when they're interested, right? We can all appreciate the annoying ads, right? That's something that when I think of AI, that how do we enter people's lives when they're looking for a car, and we can genuinely offer them something better and get on their list, not in an intrusive way. And I see that being something very, very helpful in AI, helping us with that, especially with just the millions and millions of transactions that are done online through ad servers and things. I see that being very helpful. But as far as manufacturing and these kinds of things, that's more outside of my area of expertise, and how cloud computing and AI influence that. I think you should ask someone more of an expert than I am.
We have Tanvi from our team. She would also like to ask you a question. Tanvi?
Mr. Frump, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
So the question that I've picked from the live feed is that people want to know, out of the the sustainability development goals that the United Nations has, any particular goal that you as a person or as a CEO or Volvo as a company focuses on, any priorities or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess, for Volvo has been recognized by the United Nations for its groundbreaking electrification strategy, right? And so, all of the, those, the goals and the global goals is something that we're very much in tune with and aligned with. I think electrification it is the direction that Volvo has chosen, and it's absolutely behind the reason for that is clearly for sustainability, right? And so I think, with regard to those global goals, I think that's very that's how I would answer that question.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. And that brings us to finishing the time slot that you gave us graciously.
Right.
Siddharth, any closing questions that you have?
Sir, one small question. Sustainability actually is not just a work thing where we go to office and we follow it. So it starts at home as well. So tell us, how are you keeping sustainability at home going?
Yeah, I think I'm more sustainable than usual, I would say, now that I'm working from home. I think my commute right now, or has prior to this, was also a zero emission commute. I drive a T8 XC90, and I'm always on 100% electric mode in our plug-in hybrid. So I think that is setting a bit of an example that is important to me, right? For me personally, I think I've always believed, lived in a lot of different countries, and I think for me, just keeping my own life quite small, right? I don't have large house. For me, I don't own any houses. I've always lived in moderate sized places. Being the head of an auto company, I've never had to own a car for many years. So, but I have a car, but I don't have to own a car. So I think that a lot of us think about wanting to have huge possessions and large houses and these things, and that's really never been part of my lifestyle. I've always kind of, I always like to think, especially with all these moves, I've had to be mobile, but my most valuable possession is really my ice hockey equipment. My wife has a 5-year-old MacBook Pro, so I think that we just keep our many of our material needs. I think we keep them modest and low, so there's very little to recycle, very that sense of smallness and less. I really think that often less is more, and I think that that's been my own personal approach to sustainability.
Which technology you are personally a fan of? Are you plan like in US they talk about hydrogen powered vehicles. In Europe it's about mix of hybrid and electric vehicles. In Japan
Yep.
they talk about hybrid vehicles.
Yes.
In India it's of late EVs have got traction, but earlier it was about CNG. Which technology you are personally a fan of and you think is globally acceptable and it should be uniformly applied?
That's an easy one for me. It's clearly electrification. We're betting our entire company on electrification, right? So we're developing all full speed ahead despite the COVID crisis. All of our cars are going to be BEV, fully battery electric capable. Every car we launch will be able to do that. This is our choice of in direction. Is that time will tell if that's the right direction, but I feel very proud that we're willing to go all in on a certain technology, and I think that it's our clear goal to set the example by doing so. So I recognize the benefits and possibilities of hydrogen. I think that perhaps that in the future that could become reality. I certainly respect hybridization, and that's a technology that we embrace, but I don't think it goes far enough. For me, I think that we have just begun to enter the full electric era, and that this is going to take off. And I know there's a lot of concern in India around infrastructure, but if there's anything that I know about my 3 years in India, that Indians find a way, and they find a way quickly. And if they find something they want in a way to move forward, this I believe is something that can be fixed and that people will embrace. So electrification for sure.
On that great note, we'll end this. Thank you for your time and have a great day, sir.
Thank you.